Okay, you can start now. Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله وفتح رأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. ماشاء اللہ بیٹا، ماشاء اللہ، جزاک اللہ.
Abbas, Bismillah.
زکات انگلش میں
Abbas, you can start بیٹا. Abbas, please start.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم هم لا يعلمون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي على الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يعلمون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره مغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قال طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني أعلنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر ولي ربي جعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم قامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القلوب أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا من حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عدم الأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أن حمل ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم وهم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا لحين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون ما تأتيهم من آيات من آيات ربهم إنا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أن نطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يقسمون فيستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث ديارهم ينزلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزين إلا ما كنتم تعملون إنا أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أحد إليكم يا بني آدم أن ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين أن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانة فيهم ما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن معمر ننكسه في الخلق فلا يعقلون وما علمنا الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم منها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من شجر الأخضر نارا إذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيقول فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صلوات
अकबर तुम्हें मालूम है क्या मांग रहे हो तुम बाप से मरने की रज़ा मांग रहे हो اکبر تمہیں معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو اس عالم غربت میں تمہیں جان دوں کیسے اس دشت مصیبت میں تمہیں جان دوں کیسے اس وقت قیامت میں تمہیں جان دوں کیسے اے لال جو تم اذن وغا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو اکبر تمہیں معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو کیا گزر گی اس باپ کے دل پر نہیں سوچا تم نے یہ میری جان لی اکبر نہیں سوچا مر جاؤں گا میں تجھ سے بچھڑ کر نہیں سوچا تم مجھ سے ضعیفی کا عصا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو اکبر تمہیں معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو دل روتا ہے نظروں سے اگر دور ہو بیٹا کس طرح جدائی تیری منظور ہو بیٹا تم ہی میری آنکھیں میرا نور ہو بیٹا مجھ سے میری آنکھوں کے ضیا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو اکبر تمہیں معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہے ہو تم باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہے ہو بابا مجھے معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہا ہوں ایک بار سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہا ہوں بابا مجھے اماں نے بھی کچھ درس دیا ہے آداب وفا سے مجھے آگاہ کیا ہے پہلے میں مروں آپ سے وعدہ یہ لیا ہے بس اس لیے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہا ہوں ایک باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہا ہوں بابا مجھے معلوم ہے کیا مانگ رہا ہوں ایک باپ سے مرنے کی رضا مانگ رہا ہوں صلوات محمد وآل محمد
بسم اللہ بیٹے
صلوات محمد وآل محمد اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد اصغر سلامی تیر ستم کھائے آتے ہیں گردن پیدر کے ہاتھوں پہ لٹکائے آتے ہیں گردن پیدر کے ہاتھوں پہ لٹکائے آتے ہیں تیروں کا میں برستا ہے ننھی سی لاش پر کالی گھٹا کی طرح علیہ چھائے آتے ہیں کالی گھٹا کی طرح لئی چھائے آتے پانی دیا نہ ظالموں نے پیاسے مر گئے گل کی طرح سے دھوپ میں مرجھائے آتے ہیں گل کی طرح سے دھوپ میں مرجھائے آتے ہیں بازو چھدا ہے شاہ کا بچہ ہے میں تر اصغر کی لاش چھاتی سے لپٹائے آتے ہیں اصغر کی لاش چھاتی سے لپٹائے آتے ہیں حضرت کو ہے یہ سوچ کے بانو کہے گی کیا گردن کو مارے شرم سے نیوڑائے آتے ہیں گردن کو مارے شرم سے نیوڑائے آتے ہیں بالی سکینہ جھانک کے دیوڑی کے پردے سے بولیے بیو میرے ماں جائے آتے ہیں بولیے بیو میرے ماں جائے آتے ہیں اصغر سلامی تیر ستم صلوات اور محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ محمد و آل گزارش ہے ممتاز انکل سے کہ تشریف لائیں اور مرثیہ خانی کا شرف حاصل کریں پر محمد و آل محمد باز بلند صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم
ابروک کی آمد ہے اصغر بے زبان کی آمد ہے بھوکے کی دوا کی آمد ہے پیاسے کی نیم جان پیاسے کی نیم جان کی آمد ہے خیمے میں شور ہوتا ہے وغان کا بھی دور وغان کا بھی دور ہوتا ہے اس نے کر دیا ہے یہ عالم غش پہ غش آتے ہیں انہیں پیغام ہلتے ہیں ہاتھ پاؤں بھی کام سینے میں اب نہیں سینے میں اب نہیں سماتا ہم سے ماتم زدوں کو سلطتا ہے ننا سید پڑا ننا سید پڑا سے سکتا ہے
Ali, can you please unmute?
رشک خشک کاموں زبان دکھاتے ہیں غل سے رونے کے سین غل سے رونے کے سین میں جاتے بلائے دھڑکتی چھاتی ہے سانس بھی اب بٹا آتی ہے گرمی کے مارے جلتا ہے اور ننا سا دل پڑا اچھلتا ہے دم بدم رنگ کو بدلتا ہے بس نہیں کچھ کسی بس نہیں کچھ کسی کا چلتا ہے پانی کا سب جو لیتے ہیں منہ کو گھبرا کے کھو پانی کا سب جو لیتے ہیں منہ کو گھبرا کے کھو منہ کو گھبرا کے کھو دیتے ہیں بانوئے دل کی میں کدھر جاؤں کیا کروں تدبیر ہائے بچے میرے تری دادی نہ کو پانی ملا تجھے ناشی اب دیکھتی ہے برزینا کہتی ہے یاری مدد زینا کیا وقت ہے پڑا ہم پر کرنے پائے نہ ماتم اکبر ہوئے در پہ ریلتے میں نکلوں گی اور کل شام پا جاؤں گی حال بے شیر کا سناؤں گی جا کے ہوں میں سیدانی دیکھو مرتا ہے یہ میرا جانی تشنگی کی ہے اس پر طغیانی واہ کیا خوب کی سیراب لال کو میرے پانی دونوں نے ہاتھ سیراب لال کو میرے پانی دونوں نے ہاتھ تو میرے یہ سرور عالم جھولے سے لائے بے زبان کو حرم شے نے دیکھا کہ ہے لبوں پر دم روکے شایے جانی میرے جگر چلو میدان سے روئے سرور زجا لیا ہاتھوں پہ اپنا غیرت ماں کیا پنہا اب میں قاتل خار لا الہ الا اللہ پیاسے گوشت بار چلے پشت خم کر کے بھی پشت خم کر کے بھی قرار چلے کہ کہنے لگے امام غیور غافلو کچھ نہیں ہے تم کو شعور تم سمجھنا نہیں خدا کو دور میرے بچے کا کیوں میرے بچے کا کیوں میرے بچے کا کیوں گناہ کی نہ جان دو یارو میرے کہنے کو ماں میرے کہنے کو ماں میرے کہنے کو ماں یارو پیمبر کا دم نکلتا ہے میرے دل بر کا تر کرو میرے اصغر کا جان دوں گا میں دوں گا میں کو سرکار لا ملتا ہے ٹھہرو ٹھہرو جواب ٹھہرو جواب لا ملتا ہے ٹھہرو ٹھہرو جواب ٹھہرو ٹھہرو جواب ملتا ہے کیا غضب ظالم مارتا کیوں ہے بے سبب ظالم پانی مانگے گنا اب ناب ظالم سنتا ظالم رب رو چھ مہینے کی جان مہینے کی جان رب رو تمام کو مارا چھ مہینے کی جان مہینے کی جان کو مارا ایام القربین ينقلبون
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وسلم.
Jazakallah, Jazakallah. Thank you so much. Respected viewers, Alhamdulillah, today is the 9th night of this Ashra, and it's been quite an experience this time, doing Majlis virtually, online. But it was certainly made possible due to various factors, which I'd like to highlight today. Just before I invite Maulana, as this is going to be his last lecture of this series, although he's going to continue to recite until 12th of Muharram, inshallah. But today being the last night of this particular 10 days, and tomorrow, of course, being the day of Ashra, it's going to be the day and night of the Messiah alone. So let me take this opportunity on behalf of Noor to acknowledge and thank all those people who have made this possible. To start with, on behalf of Noor and the committee, I'd like to thank all the sponsors for coming forward and sponsoring all these majalises day after day. And Alhamdulillah, this time the multiple sponsor policy have worked out well. Many sponsors came forward to sponsor a single majlis on particular days. I'd like to thank you all very much, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your humble services and reward you happily, inshallah, in this world and the hereafter. I would like to also thank Maulana Sayyid Haider Hasnain, who has kindly accepted our invitation and has joined us all the way from home, even though it's almost like close to midnight, but night after night, he's been joining us and rendering some inspirational and motivational speeches. I really would like to, on behalf of all the members and the committee, and of course the viewers, I'd like to thank him for his wonderful lectures. I would also like to thank all other reciters, mashallah, who has contributed in recitation of Surah Yasin and in Salams and Nawhas and Marsiyas. Alhamdulillah, may Shehzadi accept all their humble services. Especially my thanks goes to Muslim Bhai Hadili Khan, who's been very kind, who has kindly accepted our invitation. And even though it's almost like midnight in India, Hyderabad, but he's been very, very kind in joining us night after night and reciting Nawhas. So a big thank you to Muslim Bhai as well. I would also like to thank people who have been behind the scene. You may be seeing me and maybe sometime Irshad, but there's a background. There's so many people working, especially Irshad and team, for all the technical support, without which it would have not been possible to really run through this majalises without the technical support. And he has really done a brilliant job. So Irshad and team, thank you so much for really extending such a technical hand and making it possible to go for the digital way, which is going to the future, hopefully, I think. And then I would also like to thank, I cannot ignore, I have been listening to Maulana day after day. He's been really highlighting this point. Even my time and efforts would not have been possible without the support of my family. So like Maulana said, I'd like to thank my wife who had made this, turn my little house, my home, to a little Ashur Khana and Azah Khana, from where I've been able to host this majlis. So all the families who have remained behind, all the trustees, all the volunteers, all the members, and their respective families who have been a big support in making this happen. And then I also like to thank our founders of Noor Institute, especially Marhum Sadiq Uncle and his beloved wife Sokra Auntie. If they would have not laid this foundation, we would not be able to conduct the majlis today. So really would like to, and all those who have basically passed away serving this cause, like Tafazur Uncle and my brother Abbas Hussain, who was the ex-trustee and whose contribution cannot be denied. For the last several years, he and his family, Abbas Bhai and his family, have been the pillar, the foundation of this majalises, and mashallah, they have served Imam Hussein's pious cause to the best of their capabilities. May Allah reward him in the best and reward him with the highest status in Jannah to all these marhumins who have passed away. And of course, lastly, I would like to also thank my respected viewers who have been logging in, zooming in, despite of the pressure of hopping around, so many majalises happening at the same time, but they have been very, very dedicated and devoted to An-Noor majalises, and I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the An-Noor trustees as well. So before I invite Maulana, let me just give you the program for tomorrow. Tomorrow being the day of Ashura, we'll start the program at 12 o'clock, inshallah, with Amale Ashura, online, conducted by Maulana Sayyid Haider Hasnain, and followed by Majlis Ashura at 1:30 after Namaz Zuhrain. And then in the evening, inshallah, after Namaz Maghribain, we shall have a Majlis of Sham-e Ghariba. And after this Majlis, there will be two more Majalises. Especially, you can never forget the Majlis of 11th, which is always sponsored by Brother Abbas Hussain Marhum and his beloved family. This year also, inshallah, the Majlis will be conducted in the same manner how it used to be conducted on the night of 11th of Muharram. And then 12th being Soem of Shaykh Sayyid Haider Hasnain. So please also continue to zoom in in these two majalises as well. Lastly, I'd like to request Surah Fatiha for the sponsor, the marhumin of today's sponsor, Zulfiqar Ali Khan. He's been very, very dedicated and devoted sponsor always on the 9th of Muharram. He has been for years after he's been sponsored. So let's recite Surah Fatiha for his father, Marhum Ibrahim Ali Khan, and all his marhumins, brother Ali Abidi Yuhai, his uncle Ansar Haider Abidi Sahab, and all his marhumins, and Muhtarama Sayyida Sineen Alam Sahiba and her marhum and all her marhumins. So let's recite Surah Fatiha of your marhumin, and let's include all the shuhada, those who have passed away. So let's recite Surah Fatiha, and please also include the shuhada of Yemen, Nigeria, and all over wherever our mu'mineen have passed away, especially in this pandemic, who we have lost quite a few of our beloveds in our family and friends. Let's include all of them tonight and recite Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Alhamdulillah. I'd like to now invite Maulana Sayyid Haider Hasnain to please come forward and begin his lecture tonight. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, ba'awaz bilan salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm not worthy of your kind words, Uncle. Alhamdulillah, it's been an absolute tawfiq and blessing for myself to be able to feel I'm of use to some of the believers out there. Alhamdulillah. May Allah reward you and all the people who made this possible, and especially all the people in the background who don't get noticed, including your families. Yeah. May Allah reward you all immensely, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها والصلاة والسلام على عبده المرتضى ورسوله المجتبى وحبيبه المصطفى الذي سماه في السماوات أحمدا وفي الأرض أبا القاسم محمدا وعلى الأطيبين من آله البررة سيما يا حجة الله الباقية صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة فيا ليتنا كنا معك سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight is a very special, sacred, different night. Tonight is the night of Ashura. And tonight we won't be speaking much. Tonight is a night in which we mourn and which we relive the moments, the painful moments that were witnessed by Abu Abdullah and his household, his companions. And similarly, tomorrow is not a day we give speeches, it's a day we mourn. And therefore, there's one important point I'd like to mention tonight, and that's all. Before we mourn together, inshallah. What is the point of crying? What's the point of all this remembrance? We've misunderstood it. We think it's for the sake of crying. No. Why are there so many narrations from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam praising and really valuing the tears that are shed for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam? Poetry that's recited for him, poetry that moves the heart. Why? Does it mean any tear shed for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is acceptable? If that was the case, why is it that on the day of Ashura, Umar ibn Sa'ad, the commander of the army of Yazid, Lady Zainab alayhi salam addresses him in those fateful moments and says, "Oh Umar, will Abu Abdullah be murdered and you just watch him?" The Maqta said he cried in that moment. He cried for Imam Hussein. When the household of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam were taken as prisoners, the people of Kufa, they recognized this household. The Maqtal says they began crying and wailing and weeping. They were also crying because they were sad about what happened. The Imam of their time, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, didn't accept those tears. You know how he addressed them? Because remember, the people of Kufa were the ones who betrayed Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They were the ones who invited him, then betrayed him. They were responsible. They had the blood of Imam al-Hussein on their hands. Even if they weren't the only ones carrying those swords. When Imam Sajjad alayhi salam witnesses their wailing and crying, it's related, he says, "Atanuhun wa tabkuna min ajlina." Are you crying because of us? You're crying for our sake. فَمَنَ الَّذِي قَتَلَنَا? Who exactly was it, O people of Kufa, that killed and slaughtered us? Lady Zainab alayhi salam rises in her speech. Her fiery sermon is related. She says to them, cry much, weep much, and laugh little. Let no one be deceived into thinking that just crying for Imam al-Hussein is sufficient to save them. Didn't save the people of Kufa. Didn't save Umar ibn Sa'ad. Why then have we all been ordered to cry? Crying is not the aim, it's the means to an aim. Crying shows an internal connection. It means the heart softens, the heart is moved. And the point is this, when the heart is moved, it's easier to mold into a different shape. It's easier to change your character when your heart is moved. That's the point. That's the point of this mourning and crying, for us to change, for us to gain a taqwa. Why is Ashura always relevant? Why are we reliving it day after day? Do you know why? Because the reality is there is a Karbala taking place in every single one of us, every day of our lives. There is a Hussein sitting inside us, and there is also a Yazid and Shimr sitting right here inside us. Surah 12, Ayah 53 of the Noble Quran. Chapter 12, verse 53, Allah says, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحَمَ رَبِّي. Allah is the verse of Allah, but one of His servants is mentioning this. The lower self commands to evil, except in as much as my Lord has mercy. All of us have that lower self, that Yazid, that Shimr inside of us. And all of us, without exception, Every one of us are capable of doing what Shimr ibn al-Jawshi did on that day. Every one of us are capable of that. So, another verse of Quran, this is Surah 75, Ayah 2. Chapter 75, verse number 2 of the Noble Quran states, وَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالنَّفْسِ اللَّوَّامَةِ. Allah swears by what is known as an-nafs al-lawwama, the blaming soul. What is the blaming soul? The blaming soul is that part of you which is called in English your conscience. That part of you, when you make a mistake, you do something bad, you feel bad about it. It's elevating you. So you have an aspect of yourself which is pulling you towards the ground, and you have an aspect of yourself which is saying go high. Which one will I choose? Which one will you choose? This is the battle between Hussein alayhi salam and Yazid la'natullah alayh, which is taking place inside every one of us. We visit Karbala and mourn and sympathize and show our love and expression and emotion for Al-Hussein. Why? Alayhi salam. Because in order to strengthen that Husseini side within myself. That's the point of this morning and crying. That's why we're doing this year after year. And otherwise, we're just mocking ourselves. Allow me to give one practical point, and this may be clear misconception that some people may have. You know, we have been taught by the Ahlul Bayt how to remember Imam al-Hussein. We've been taught how to mourn Imam al-Hussein. And we look to our ulama and, you know, scholars, righteous scholars, the servants of Quran and Ahlul Bayt, how they mourn and how they tell us to mourn, right? This year they told us, be careful because of Corona. We were careful. We don't have the right to make up our own religion. There are certain cultural traditions that have entered, unfortunately, which have nothing to do with Islam. One of the things you may have heard is we are not meant to give salam on the day of Ashura. You don't give salam to one another. It's a sad day. Where is this from? Show me one verse of Quran. Don't give salam? Why? As Muslims, how we greet each other according to Quran is salam, the name of Allah, salam. Salamun alaykum. I'm at peace with you. Ziyarat Ashra, we say, silmun liman salamakum. I'm at peace with one who's at peace with you. And you're saying, I can't say salam to my brother and sister on Ashura day? Let's not make up our own religion. Allah says, oh, you who believe, don't go ahead of Allah and His Messenger. Let's not teach Allah the religion. Ashura is a day of sadness, of mourning, of pain. This has got nothing to do with not giving salam. Yes, what we are told to do when you greet one another as well as salam, not instead of salam, as well as salam, you say what? أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالحسين عليه السلام. May Allah make your reward great and our reward great due to our sadness for Al-Hussein alayhi salam. We have to elevate ourselves. You know, sometimes it becomes very artificial. In my heart, I don't feel much, but I make a huge effort of showing that I'm very sad. No, this is not what we're after. The people of the heart, they know it's Ashura. They feel a pain and sadness within themselves because they're so pure, because they have so much taqwa. That's what we're after. No need to make a show. Some people, they think it's ridiculous what they turn the religion into. They think, my young child, I'm not going to feed them or give them water on Ashura because Imam Hussein was thirsty. What is this? This isn't how you follow Imam Hussein. Follow what Islam is saying. Follow the Ahlul Bayt. Don't make up your own religion. Because you don't know better than the Ahlul Bayt. And I don't know better than the Ahlul Bayt. You think Imam Hussein is happy or starving your child or forcing your child to not drink water? You know, so that's a practical point, brothers and sisters. Stick to what Imam Hussein went and sacrificed for, which is Islam. Don't hold on to things you may have heard here or there, and elders might have told you, or a Maulana might have said. Look for a reason. Everything we have, every action we have, Allah's going to ask us, why did you do that? What's your reason? And saying my parents told me or my elders told me is not a good reason, is not a sufficient reason. Go and find what the religion is saying and follow the religion, inshallah. I'd like to give one story. And then we'll start the morning of tonight, inshallah. There was someone in Karbala who actually loved Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam very much, but ended up being on the wrong side. Ended up facing the Imam instead of joining. And that someone was none other than the commander of the army of Yazid, called Umar ibn Sa'd, the son of the Prophet's companion, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqas. He had a son called Umar. Some have said Umar was even born during the age of Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He knew this household very well. He knew Amir al-Mu'mineen. He knew Zahra, he knew Al-Imam al-Hasan, and he knew Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. You know Umar ibn Sa'd? The one who till the day of judgment he will be known as the one who murdered and spilled the blood of al-Hussein. You know, he didn't want to kill Imam Hussein. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, the governor of Kufa that Yazid had put in power there, had promised Umar ibn Sa'd a certain governance, the governance of a land called the land of Ray. Umar ibn Sa'd wanted to govern Ray. He was a slave to his greed. He wasn't free. But he still loved Imam al-Hussein. So when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad said to him, fight al-Hussein, you know what he did? He said, Ubaidullah, can I be excused from it? Look, he doesn't want to fight the Imam. Ubaidullah said, you know that land you wanted? The condition of getting that land and governing that land is to fight al-Hussein. So Umar was in a dilemma. He had to choose now between his love for dunya and the love of al-Hussein. He said, give me some time to choose. Ubaidullah said, okay, no problem, take your time. He went, he asked members of his household, he asked other people. They all advised him, Umar, do not fight al-Hussein. It's not worth it. Even if they're going to give you right, it's not worth destroying your akhirah for the sake of a piece of land. But the next day he came, he didn't listen to that advice. Would that he had listened. He said to Ubaidullah, okay, I'm ready to do it. So Ubaidullah sends him, go to al-Hussein. Hussein is traveling towards Iraq, go and meet him there. So Umar travels, makes his way to Karbala. On the 3rd of Muharram, Abu Abdullah enters Karbala on the 2nd of Muharram. That's when he encounters Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, who returned, who till Judgment Day will be remembered as a saint and a martyr. How blessed is he. But on the 3rd of Muharram, Umar enters Karbala with some thousand, a certain number of troops. Maybe I think it was 4,000 perhaps. I read somewhere it was 4,000 troops. Between the 3rd and the 9th of Muharram, he has many meetings with al-Hussein. He sent someone to al-Hussein alayhi salam saying, find out what al-Hussein's intention is. Why? This is important. Because he doesn't want to spill the blood of al-Hussein. He knows who al-Hussein is. He loves al-Hussein. So, Al-Hussein says to the man he sends, he says, I came because the people of Kufa invited me. If they don't want me to come, I'll go back. Umar ibn Sa'd has many meetings with Al-Hussein alayhi salam between the 3rd and the 9th of Muharram. The Imam wants, and look at the Imam, he's here to free you, right? Every Imam is there to free you and save you. The Imam wanted to free Umar ibn Sa'd. He wanted to save him. He asks for a meeting. It's related. He asks for a meeting at night. Sends a message to Umar. Umar, come at night. I want to speak to you. Umar comes. They meet at night. The Imam alayhi salam reminds him of Allah. Reminds him of his duty to Allah. Reminds him of what he's doing. Tries to wake him up. You know what Umar says? He says, oh, Aba Abdullah, you're right. Everything you're saying is right. But I fear Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad will destroy my home if I don't do what he's told me to do. Look, we spoke about being free from fear. We spoke about how if you don't free yourself right now, you cannot be of use to the Imam of your time. You may even end up fighting the Imam that you love. That's what happened in this situation. He says, I fear Ubaidullah will destroy my home. Al-Hussein tries to save you. You know what he says? He says, I will build a better home for you. Al-Hussein is promising, not in Jannah, in this world. I myself, Al-Hussein, I'll ensure you have a home in this world, a better home. Umar ibn Sa'd says, I own a piece of land that I want my children to inherit. I fear Ubaidullah takes it away from me. You know what Al-Hussein says? He's still trying to free him. Look at the love of the Imam. It's related. He says, I will give you a better land than your land in Hijaz. And Umar is silent because Al-Hussein has closed the door of every excuse he can make. He's silent. But the love of authority and power had blinded his heart. Had this love of authority and power had overcome and devoured his love for Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Before the battle begins, Al-Hussein alayhi salam one more time tries to save him. You know what he says? He tries to shake him. It's related. He says, oh Umar, do you think that by spilling my blood, that ruler, you think he will make you the ruler of Ray? That piece of land he's promised? You think he'll be faithful to his promise if you spill my blood? Never will you see that day. Do whatever you wish, for you will never see happiness after me, neither in dunya nor in akhirah. And guess what, brothers and sisters? Umar ibn Sa'd spilled the blood of Al-Hussein. Neither did he get dunya. Neither did they give him Ray. Neither did he get akhirah. He lost everything. You know why I'm telling you this story? Because this story is not only the story of Umar, it's the story of each and every one of us. We all love Al-Hussein, but how much? How much? We all love Al-Hussein alayhi salam, but sometimes the love of other than Al-Hussein is overwhelming that love for Al-Hussein. It's possible that if we don't free ourselves from these fake loves, if we don't make this heart completely for Allah and His beloved ones, we end up standing in front of the Imam of our time. Umar ibn Sa'd himself later went on to say, I've lost both dunya and akhirah. Choose Al-Hussein. You'll gain both dunya and akhirah. This is why we remember Karbala. This is why we remember Karbala. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka يا أبا عبد الله أيها يا غريب أيها العطشان. If they call me disgraceful, I'll say Hassan. If they tell me I'm sinful, I'll say Hassan. In all my worries, my fear and my pain, my heart becomes hopeful when I say Hassan. This is the night of Ashra. This is the night before Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is the night of love. This is the night of tears. What's happening on this night? All creation is addressing this night, saying, all creation is addressing this night, saying, oh night, your hours lengthen. My heart, I need to strengthen. Oh night, your hours lengthen. My heart, I need to strengthen. Oh dawn, bring not your hour. Sunrise, show not your color. Sunrise, show not your color. As that beautiful Arabic poem says, Ya lil طول ساعاتك يا ليل أحمل آهاتك يا ليل طول ساعاتك يا ليل أحمل آهاتك. When you enter the camps of Abu Abdullah tonight, it's related, you hear a buzzing like the buzzing of bees. Why? What is this buzzing? You know, the companions of Al-Hussein are so filled with joy and pleasure. Do you know why? Because they know they've saved themselves. They know they've made it. They know that tomorrow they are the guests of the grandfather of Al-Hussein in paradise. You know, this night was a gift of Allah to Imam al-Hussein. The battle was supposed to take place on the 9th of the month of Muharram. It's related Al-Hussein sent Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas to get an extra day. Why? Because it's related, he says, I love to read the Quran. I love as-salah, prayer. I love doing istighfar. And I love doing dua. You want to see how close you are to Al-Hussein? See how much you love these four things. Al-Hussein is delaying the meeting of the beloved, so he has one more night to recite his book. What have we done with the Quran? La ilaha illallah. It's related, you enter into the camps of Al-Hussein, you hear the buzzing like the buzzing of bees. One of the companions is in sajda, one of them is in ruku. It's as if the heavenly angels have gathered in this campsite tonight. La ilaha illallah. Tonight, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein gathers his companions. He turns out the candle, he says, leave. They only want to kill me. And one by one, those loyal companions begin rising and saying, oh, Abu Abdullah, we were with you in your hardship. We were with you in your easy times. You think we're going to leave you in your hardship? Look at us. We go to Imam Sahib al-Zaman when we need something, right? And when we don't need something, we don't go to him. The companions of Al-Hussein were not like us. Not like myself. We were with you in your easy times. How can we leave you now in hardship? One of them rises and says, oh, Abu Abdullah, were I to be killed, my body burnt, my ashes scattered, brought back to life, my body burnt, my ashes scattered, and were this to be repeated 1,000 times, I'd prefer that than you meeting the swords even one time. This is love. It's happening tonight. Ajarakallah ya baqiyatullah. It's a difficult night for Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Year after year, he wants to avenge the blood that was spilled tomorrow, and year after year, because of our sins, because of our failings, Allah is not giving him permission. Ya Sahib al-Zaman, forgive us. Forgive me. Forgive me tonight. The companions of Al-Hussein alayhi salam are filled with joy and filled with happiness. But there's one heart on this night. I wonder what this heart is feeling. Because this heart knows it has to go on. This heart knows it has to be strong. Oh, this heart knows that when the fight of Abu Abdullah will come to an end, that is when the battle of this heart will begin. That is when the struggle of this heart begins. La ilaha illallah. Oh no, tell me what's going through the heart of Lady Zainab tonight. Is she repeating these verses? Is this her condition? Is she addressing the night saying, Ya lil tawal sa'atak, Ya lil ahmil ahatak. Oh night, your hours lengthen. My heart, please let me strengthen. Oh dawn, bring not your hour. Sunrise, show not your color. Sunrise, show not your color. La ilaha illallah. Maybe this lady leaves the tent tonight and goes towards the tent of Abu Abdullah. May Allah grant us all to visit the blessed city of Karbala. There is a place in that city, it's called the Mukhayyam. It's where the tents of Al-Hussein were. Until now, they've written, this is the tent of Imam al-Sajjad. This was the tent of Aqilat Bani Hashim, Lady Zainab al-Kubra. You know who the first tent belonged to right at the entrance? It was the tent of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Abu Abdullah placed him at the entrance. But allow me to say this, till the 10th of Muharram, the flag of Abu Abdullah was carried by Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. But tomorrow, the flag of Abu Abdullah will be carried by Lady Zainab. I wonder tonight, oh lady, this lady who's learned the lesson of loyalty and love from her mother Zahra in the streets of Medina, she knows very well what she has to do. This is a lady who you don't see any weakness in her. La ilaha illallah. I wonder what happened tonight. Oh lady, do you go to your brother Al-Hussein? Do you wipe his tears? Maybe you say to him, oh Abu Abdullah, don't you worry. I'm just as strong as Abu Fadl al-Abbas. So long as I'm alive, your flag will never fall. Whatever happens, I'll be strong, I promise. La ilaha illallah. My soul will be sacrificed for the dust beneath the feet of those who went and defended your shrine, oh lady. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. But today we remember a very painful moment on the day of Ashura. This is a night of tears. It's not a night that it's a heavy night. It's a difficult night. Inshallah, our tears bring some kind of peace to the heart of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Ruhi lahu al-Fida. Tonight we remember a very painful moment. You know, every night we only remember one companion because that's all we can bear. But remember this tomorrow, brothers and sisters, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein saw every one of his companions and children and beloved ones in one morning till afternoon. Within some hours, he lost every single one of them. And then he went and fought like a lion. We can't even bear to hear more than one companion every night. We get tired. What will happen tomorrow? One person of the heart said, Sahib al-Zaman, the Imam, he is seeing Ashura on this day. Seeing it. La ilaha illallah. But what is that difficult moment? What is that difficult moment? You know, there's two difficult moments. One leads to another. Allow me to read from Luhuf, one of the more authentic maqtals. There comes a time on the day of Ashura, brothers and sisters, by Allah, cry as much as you can tonight. And when your heart breaks, ask the Imam of your time to make you one of his companions. That, you know, gaze and spiritual charisma, ask him, I tried, it didn't work, I can't, I need your help. Ask him, ask Allah through him. It's related that there comes a time on the day of Ashura that after the flag bearer of Al-Hussein alayhi salam has been martyred, imagine Al-Hussein alayhi salam, all that purity, all that ishq, that love, all that compassion, all that mercy. He's standing there, imagine, in the plains of Karbala, and there's no one beside him. No one to his right, no one to his left. Everyone is gone. No one remains. Imagine that moment. It's related that in that moment, he called out, imagine Al-Hussein, all that purity, all that innocence, calling out, هل من ذاب يضب عن حرم رسول الله? Is there anyone to defend the ladies of the Prophet's household? هل من موحد يخاف الله فينا? Is there anyone who believes in Allah and is afraid regarding us and helping us before Allah? هل من مغيث يرجو الله بغابتنا? Is there any helper who seeks Allah by means of helping us? هل من معين يرجو عند الله في إعانتنا? Is there anyone to assist us who hopes Allah's reward by means of our assistance? Who was he calling? I dare say this, he was calling you and me. He was giving us a chance to be part of this, but we can only be part of it if we say no to the Yazid sitting inside our own selves again and again and again. If we destroy this Yazid again in our own selves again and again, we can say Labbaika ya Hussein, La ilaha illallah. When the women, only the women had remained in the tents. The women heard this cry, they began screaming and shouting and wailing. They're seeing the loneliness of Al-Hussein and they know what's about to happen. It's in that moment that it's related that Aqila to Bani Hashim, Lady Zainab alayhi salam, comes forward, and see how she never allows her emotions to overcome her intellect. Aqila, she's called Aqila, the one who whose reason is at its peak. Aqila to Bani Hashim. She comes forward, she knows what's happening, she knows that Al-Hussein is going to leave and not come back. But you know what? There's one thing, she's thinking about everyone. She's thinking about everyone. She says she comes to him and she's holding his 6-month-old child in her arms. And she says, Ya akhay, oh my brother, هذا ولدك له 3 أيام ما ذاق الماء فاطلب له شربة ماء. This is your son, oh my brother, for 3 days he hasn't tasted water. Ask them to give him some water before you go. It's related about Abdullah takes his beloved son in his arms. He goes towards them. He calls out, Ya qawm, O people, قد قتلتم شيعتي وأهل بيتي. You murdered my followers. You murdered the members of my household. وقد بقى هذا الطفل يتلظى عطشان. Only this child remains. The thirst is torturing him. فاسقوا شربة من الماء. You yourselves go and give him some water. La ilaha illallah. What did Al-Hussein not give for us to have Islam, for us to throw it away today, for us to have the Quran today? He gave everything. You know how much sacrifice he gave? The Maqtal says they didn't even allow him to finish his sentence. They answered him right there. But they didn't quench the thirst of his infant with water. They quenched his thirst in a different manner. Harmala holds back your arrow. Harmala holds back your arrow. Hussein's heart don't fill with sorrow. Harmala, hold back your arrow. Hussein's heart don't fill with sorrow. His pure heart don't fill with sorrow. But Ya Sahib al-Zaman, Harmala didn't hold back his arrow. All of a sudden, Abu Abdullah feels a heaviness in his arms. His arms are shaking. It said the arrow. This is a 6-month-old child, Ali al-Asghar, Ruhi lahu al-fida, Bab al-Hawa'ij. How big is the neck of a 6-month-old child? How big is an arrow? The arrow pierced his neck and entered the arm of Abu Abdullah. It's related. He threw the blood to the heavens and said, what makes this easier upon me is that Allah is watching. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. One of the scholars recently said that when Mukhtar al-Thaqafi later gathered the murderers of Abu Abdullah in his household in order to punish them, he asked, I believe it was Harmala, or one of the individuals who was present in that moment and was part of the murder of this 6-month-old child, Ruhi lahu al-fida. He asked, was there any moment your heart broke for Al-Hussein? He said, yes, there was one moment. When was that moment? He said, the moment when I saw Al-Hussein carrying his 6-month-old back towards his mother in the tent, because Lady Rabab is waiting to see Ali al-Asghar. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. With my small tongue answered your cry, Master. Don't feel ashamed. Hold your head high, Master. Tell my mother that's no other Master is there for whom I'd rather die, Master is there for whom I'd rather die, Master. Sallallahu alayka ya Ghareeb, Sallallahu alayka ya Atsha.
बहन थे ये बानों के मेरे बेज़बा असानों मेरे बेज़बा से शाम हो गई बेटा तुम गए कहाँ असगर बहन थे ये बानों के मेरे बेज़बास बेकसी में क्या मेरी आस टूट जाएगी अब तुम्हारे झूले में किसको माँ झुलाएगी दश्त के अंधेरे में कैसे नींद आएगी दश्त के अंधेरे में कैसे नींद आएगी घुट रही है सीने में कब से लोरियां असग़र बहन थे ये बानों के मेरे बेज़ुबां देखने को जिंदा थी माँ वो कर्ब का मंजर क्या सितम हुआ बेटा तेरी गर्दन पर तीर जुल्म क्या कम था हाय फिर चला खंजर तीर जुल्म क्या कम था آئے پھر چلا خنجر گر پڑا نہ دھرتی پر کیوں یہ آسمان اصغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان تیرے جسم نازک پر پیاس کا سر دیکھا تیرا چاند سا چہرہ خوں میں تر بتر دیکھا میں نے نو کے نیزہ پر ہائے تیرا سر دیکھا میں نے نو کے نیزہ پر ہائے تیرا سر دیکھا مر گئی نہ کیوں تیری بد نصیب ماسغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان اصغر شاہدی نے دفنایا تیری لاش کو بیٹا اہل ظلم کو لیکن یہ بھی کب گوارا تھا قبر سے نکالا تھا تیرا خون بھرا لاشا قبر سے نکالا تھا تیرا خون بھرا لاشا پھول سا سر تیرا اور وہ سینہ اصغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان اصغر رہ گیا ہے نظروں میں تیری پیاس کا منظر ایک بوند بھی پانی میں نہ دے سکی دل بر ماں نثار ہو جاتی تیرے خشک ہونٹوں پر ماں نثار ہو جاتی تیرے خشک ہونٹوں پر شدت آتش سے وہ تیری ہچکیاں اصغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان اصغر کیوں رہے نہ محشر تک دل پگار بانوں کا ہاں یہ ماتم اصغر ہے قرار بانوں کا کیا بیاں کرے احسن حال زار بانوں کا کیا بیاں کرے احسن حال زار بانوں کا عمر بھر لبوں پر تھا ہائے میری جان اصغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان اصغر بین تھے یہ بانوں کے میرے بے زبان اصغر التماس دعا حسین حسین حسین
سنم رہ جاتا کاش عباس نما رہ جاتا کاش عباس نما رہ جاتا دونوں بازو کاش عباس نما رہ جاتا 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 دونوں بازو وہ شہنشاہ وفا کہتا میں لاش عباس پہ شبیر پکا کرتے تھے بھائی تم بعد ہمارے جاتے بھائی تم بعد ہمارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے اس طرح لگتی نہ قبر کلجے میں سنا اس طرح ہوتی نہ سادات کے خیموں میں بغا یوں نہ زینب بھی سہارے جاتے یوں نہ زینب بھی سہارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کرد نشا پہ یورن میں نہ خنجر چلتا یوں نہ خورشید امامت سارے مقتل دلتا یوں نہ سرنیزوں پہ سارے جاتے یوں نہ سرنیزوں پہ سارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے ہوتے عباس تلاوت تو نہ خیمے جلتے شام غربت نہ سکینہ کو تماچے لگتے گوشوارے نہ اتارے جاتے گوشوارے نہ اتارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے ہوتے عباس تو چنتی نہ رضا زینب کی پاؤں میں آپ تمستر کے نہ پیری دلتی تازیان بھی نہ مارے جاتے تازیان بھی نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے کاش عباس نہ مارے جاتے حسین حسین
بسم اللہ بسم اللہ رضوان بھائی بسم اللہ
میوٹ پلیز انمیوٹ رضوان بھائی آپ انمیوٹ کریے آ رہی آواز آ رہی
بسم اللہ
اصغر کو لے کے گود میں کہتی ہے کربلا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ہے یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا 6 ماہ کے غریب مسافر کو سونپ کے کہنے لگے حسین یہ خبر صغیر سے رکھنا ذرا خیال میرے تشنہ کام کا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ہائے یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا مادر یہ بین کرتی تھی دل میں ہے ایک کسک صغرا تمہاری گود سے آغوش خبر تک اصغر کو موت نے کہیں رکنے نہیں دیا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ہائے یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ماں سوچتی تھی ڈھلتا ہے دن ہو رہی ہے شام جھولے میں لوٹ آئے گا شاید وہ تشنہ کام لیکن غضب ہوا کہ وہ جھولا بھی جل گیا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا گلیوں میں شہر کوفہ کی بازار شام میں شیری کے گھر کبھی کبھی دربار شام میں مرنے کے بعد بھی علی اصغر سفر میں تھا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ننھے سے سر کو آس سے بس تکتے رہتے تھے پھر خون رو کے سید سجاد کہتے تھے میں وہ علی ہوں جس کا بھرا گھر اجڑ گیا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ہائے یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا جانے لگا وطن جو غریبوں کا کارواں مڑ مڑ کے کہتی جاتی تھی ایک خالی گود ماں رکھنا سنبھال کر اسے اے عرض نینوا یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا ہائے یہ وہ علی ہے جس کو کبھی گھر نہیں ملا
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
السلام علیکم جميع شہداء کربلا خصوصاً ابو الفضل عباس ابن امیر المومنین السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا مولا یا غریب الغرباء یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء یوم الجزا سلطان یا ابو الحسن علی ابن موسی رضا راضی والقدر والقضاء السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا صاحب عصر الزمان علمان 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 من فتنة الزمان السلام علیکم یا شریک القرآن السلام علیکم یا امام الانس والجان عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسهل اللہ تعالی مخرجک ظہورک ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ اللہم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه طوى وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم.
محترم ناظرین، جزاک اللہ، بہت بہت شکریہ آپ حضرات کا. آپ مسلسل النور کا ساتھ دے رہے ہیں، ہر مجلس کو آپ آن لائن آ رہے ہیں. Just a quick reminder for tomorrow's program before we conclude. Inshallah, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, the Amal Ashra will be conducted online directly from home. Maulana Sayyid Haider Hasnain will lead the Amal. And then after Namaz Zohrain, 1:30, we'll start with the Majlis Ashra. And similarly, in the evening, soon after Namaz Muharram, 8:30, we shall start the Majlis Sham Ghariba. You're also requested to remember that after tomorrow, there are two more Majalis, inshallah, on 11th and 12th, and the program will conclude after the 12th of Muharram. چین دنیا میں ملے راحت اخوا مل جائے، شدت عشق ملے غم کا سلیقہ مل جائے، کاسے دل یہ حاضر ہے ترے دولت پر، فاطمہ آپ کی اولاد کا صدقہ مل جائے. اللہ